So for this vlog, I want to show you a walking tour of the main street and the main walking area of Copenhagen. Right now, I'm in one of the side streets beside near the Copenhagen Central Station. So we are approaching Vesterbro. It is vehicular. It is a main street going to the central square or the city square of Copenhagen. It is divided into vehicular road, a bike lane, and then of course the pedestrian sidewalk. So this is a pretty historical street in Copenhagen, and we have important buildings around the area, and this leads to the public square in front of the city hall of the city. We are walking towards the frontage of the central station of Copenhagen. This is a pretty old building, and that one, guys, the tall building is the SAS Hotel. It used to be the SAS Hotel, designed by Arne Jacobsen. So we have really important buildings around the area, and we have Hotel Astoria. I think this is one of the first luxury buildings or luxury hotels in Copenhagen. And then the Copenhagen Central Station, which is really a transit point if you're coming from different parts of Scandinavia. And a very distinctive area of the city. So again, it's still a vehicular road. We are approaching a crossing, and across us is actually the area where the Tivoli Garden is, and there's a building in front of it right at the edge of the landmark. And Tivoli Garden happens to be one of the oldest amusement parks in the world, and this building was designed by IMP, the designer of the Louvre Pyramid, the Louvre Museum in Paris. And that one is also an iconic building, modern iconic building in Copenhagen called the Axel Towers, beside an old building called the Axel Borg. So I think this is called the Tivoli Garden or Tivoli Corner. So we are on the other side of Vesterbro. And again, Axel Tower, and then a modern commercial building beside Tivoli Gardens. So we are walking towards the city square in front of the Copenhagen City Hall, and that's where the vehicular traffic ends. And if I'm not mistaken, that street is I think they call it Andersen or something, and that's a street that traverses the Copenhagen central area. It's not really straight vertically, but diagonal, but still traverses the entire city, as you have this street, and then all of a sudden you go to that what do you call that, a central pedestrian area. And the name of the street is called Stroll. That's how you pronounce it as you Google it, but it's actually pronounced as it's actually read as Strogel, but they pronounce it as Stroll. So nice bike lane. You will really feel safe if you want to bike here. And a nice pedestrian area, opportunities for alfresco seating on the sides. And since this is a very touristic zone, you see a lot of people already. And as you cross the pedestrian area, Vesterbro ends. This is the city hall and some of important buildings around it. So we are crossing towards the square, and it's a venue for demonstrations, sometimes public performances. and it also has the subway station access. Right now it's under renovation. They're fixing something or probably adding something. So the Danes really like their bikes. That's why they have an allocation for the bike parking and the bike lane. And you see the elevator access going to the subway. That one and this one. It's pretty modern in a very historical site. And one way to soften its appearance is that you use glazing. Since it's transparent, it feels more softer and it feels less obtrusive. And it's kind of say, you know, I'm super modern and I'm super old. So in a way, it is acceptable to use this kind of material in a setting, in a historical setting. Because if it's going to be solid, then definitely it will be more contrasting. So the bike lane here is elevated. So I'm not sure if I'm disobeying pedestrian traffic rules because people are stopping and still ongoing. And of course you have international chains like Hard Rock Cafe, 7-Eleven, KFC and Burger King. But this is a very famous commercial street, and you will see how crowded it is. Okay, so it's very hard to walk and squeeze into the crowd. Sorry. So this is going to be a long walk, but it's a very typical pedestrian lane, and you will see this in cities like Barcelona, Lisbon, and other European cities that have a pedestrian commercial strolling area. And it will be a mix of international and local brands. And you see that it's just, you know, one straight street with old buildings around it. And since this is where the crowd is, retail and F&Bs flock into this area because it has foot traffic. It has the most foot traffic, so there's more opportunity for business. So you can see that it also branches out to some side streets, and up to some extent it will be feasible commercially, but as you go farther from the main lane, it becomes quieter. You still have a street branching out, and since there are some areas that are still for cars, once in a while they're allowed to cross the pedestrian lane or the pedestrian alley. So there are some shops trickling down this road, benefiting from the crowded street, but it's definitely different and more beneficial if you are on the main pedestrian area. So of course, for a very long pedestrian alley or street rather, it is actually interrupted by big open spaces. And now we arrive at Caumeronjim. On the left, this is the oldest square of Copenhagen, and then it's adjoined on the other side of the pedestrian area, and the square is called Nytorv. And you can see there's a neoclassical building over there. It's the courthouse, and it used to be the city hall of Copenhagen in the 1800s. So one side is for pedestrian, and probably they allow some vehicular traffic. Oh yeah, there's a bus over there, and then but the rest is just open space. So I wonder if this space fills up when there's probably performances, because there's really not a lot of cafes or restaurants in the square, only on this side. So we go to the main spine again and venture into the stream of people. I wonder if I should try the bike tomorrow and have a biking tour of CoPenHagen. And of course we encountered a big park, a big open square that interrupts the pedestrian area, but there are also some very like a small surprise of pocket square, such as this one. I'm just not sure of the names, but it makes the pedestrian lane or the pedestrian street, you know, let us say filled with surprises. It's not just you know, a straight alleyway and then a mini open space with a tree in the middle. And then this reminds me of a scene in Harry Potter, but this time it's more modern because instead of the store for the wands, you have Lego. It's a very iconic Danish brand, toy brand. So this is a pretty interesting store wherein they probably scan your iris and then they put it on a frame, maybe for a fee. So it's a very unique concept. So moving along. Have you done that? So I guess that's what makes the city interesting. So aside from the open spaces that punctuates the entire stretch of the pedestrian area, you have landmarks such as this one. This is, I think, the Church of the Holy Ghost. It's one of the oldest buildings in CoPenHagen, and it's now, actually I don't know what it is now. Okay. And then we continue to walk the spine called Stroll. And again, we see another tower over there that makes the street interesting and breaks the monotony of the height of the buildings around it. And now we are slowly approaching what is believed to be CoPenHagen's most central square in central CoPenHagen. It's called Amagertorv. I begin to think that Torv means plaza, because the previous one was called Nijtorv or Gammertorv, and now this is Amagertorv. It was named after the Amager farmers who used to sell in the site, according to the Wikipedia. And Amager is a place in CoPenHagen. So this is a famous public square in the city. And again, a public square should be punctuated by a landmark, and that is St. Nicholas Church. So we move on and continue the walk and discover where this ends. So actually this plaza is also connected to another open space on the right, and the alleyway continues on that way. It branches out to 1, 2, and probably that one also, 3 alleyways, and then a piazza, probably an important building on that right. CoPenHagen has so many interesting buildings, even the modern ones. Ilum, it's a department store, and then this one, which is a nice facade. Normally big brands really hire architects to design their store distinctively, and it has coffee. You can see people hanging out, enjoying the view, and some performances at the corner. So let's look at the directory where this leads to. Okay. So I guess we go straight ahead. So instead of going to this street, which is obviously supposed to be the continuation of that street of Stroll, let's take this side road. So normally I don't like crowded areas, that's why I'm also taking this route. But I mean, like I said, it's a typical pedestrian street filled with commercial establishments, and you know, this is, you know, one of those things that you find in a city like Copenhagen. It's a design city, that's why you have design stores, you know, with specialty products. And this one is called Clint. And look at the design of these lamps. Unfortunately, in my country, those are easily reproduced, which is shameful. Okay, wow, this is a St. Nicholas Church. Well, it used to be a church, and now it's the design museum, design center of Denmark. So let's check it out if it's open. It really doesn't say if this is the Danish Design Museum, but let's check it out. It opens to different open spaces, and then you have a park like this that is friendly to the residents, even to the tourists, because they have a playground, they have a bike area, a bike parking area, and then they have a sitting area over there. And I'm still looking for the entrance of this design center, if it's really a design center, because I remember reading that this is no longer a church and it's been adaptively reused for some sort of a museum or a gallery. You know, in person, the tower is really massive, very impressive. I wonder if you enter the museum, you're allowed to go up the tower. So I'm sorry we deviated from the original route, which was the main spine of Stroll, of the Copenhagen's most central pedestrian street. So that is the St. Nicholas Tower. You really have to deviate from the main pedestrian street to find this establishment. Unfortunately, I can't find the entrance. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. So this is the entrance. So I'm not sure if we should go in, because we're still in a walking tour. Yeah, probably next time. So I actually picked through it. I don't think this is the right time for me to check it out, since I think it needs you need to devote one day to enjoy this center. So well, it's a good break from the long walk along Stroll. So that is still the main street, but I opted to take the side street because it's more quiet. But at least you have an idea what it is. I mean, it's just a typical commercial strip with nice, authentic, real old buildings beside it. Maybe except for this one, this looks pretty modern. And That probably is a travertine stone. Yeah, it looks pretty recent compared to the other buildings we saw along Stroll. One of the things that I noticed that most commercial establishments in Copenhagen or in Europe in general, they close pretty early compared to the Philippines. The Philippines, malls, shopping centers, they close even up to 10 p.m. Here, 7 p.m. they're about to close already. So still, that's the main street. And we are approaching a road where I can see cars already. And you notice that the height of the buildings, even if it's modern, respect the height of the old buildings. So it feels more humane. And so old buildings, same height. And then all of a sudden you have modern buildings, same height, but with a different materiality that creates that texture in the city. So let's go back to the main street. So this area is becoming a little bit less crowded, and I wonder why when we're supposed to be approaching Nyhaven. It's a famous waterfront area of the city. I wonder if this is authentically old building, but it looks pretty recent with a concrete facade with interesting detailing. So instead of the empty pegs, it has the pegs has a black metal on it, and I don't know if you can see it. And then there's an awning tent. Saying even though you have a very small footprint, it's a very small facade, since it's made of glass, and then you have old buildings, and then you have a really modern building, since it respects the height, you know, it doesn't really stand out or sticks out too much. So I guess this is the end of Stroll, because I'm seeing another square, a big square, and yes, this is the King's Square, I remember, and this is the Royal Danish Theatre. So it used to be a very prominent square in Copenhagen, wherein a lot of the rich in the city would live because they want to enjoy the theater, being around the theater. You know, I just want to point out the proportion of the area for pedestrian and the area for vehicular traffic and bikes. Like, they really prioritize pedestrian over cars. So that is something that we should emulate. And I think that's the statue of the former king, Christian something. Sorry, I'm not really bad with history, but that's the theater, and this is the King's Square, the new King's Square. Just correct me if I'm mistaken. So let's look for Nyhaven. So I'm a bit confused about the direction, because I thought intuitively it's supposed to be on that side, but Google Map is telling me to walk the other side. So let's walk that way. So I just want to prove how connected the pedestrian alleyways are. Maybe not directly connected, but somehow you're able to find your way around the city, because you know they have a big proportion of the pedestrian area, and then you have the public square, and you just have to walk a little bit to find another destination or a spot in the city. So I'm not familiar with the specific buildings around the area, but you know, I would imagine being rich in the olden times and living in one of these buildings and enjoying the park, the view of the park. So let's walk towards the direction going to Nijhaven. So I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but take it as it is. So I'm not sure if we should go this way or this way. So I just checked Google Map. It's neither of this road but this way. So I'm really bad with direction. I always have to consult Google Map to guide me. But I can see, well, I don't know yet if those are the colorful buildings or houses. Can we even call them houses when they are 4-story and up? So let's check them out. So I guess we are approaching Nijhaven. They have a big waterfront area, and these are the restaurants already. Again, trickling down the branching out sidewalks, streets. So this is it. Like really colorful buildings, and you can really see that they are old. The paintings a bit bit basic. It's not really that sophisticated as compared to the other older buildings that are more polished in terms of finishing. And I want to look for the building where Hans Christian Andersen lived for a while, and where he wrote The Princess and the Pea. So I'm sure it's a famous landmark here in Nijhaven. And then of course, to simulate the old times, you have these sailboats. And then if you have time to do the boat cruise, the river cruise, you can also do so. So the restaurants along the waterfront, again celebrating the water. They're not shying away from it. They're not building an expressway above it. Bit of having cities that's more open, that celebrates the outdoors, that you know, it can be more social as compared to, you know, everything is within a box, within a building, like a shopping mall. You know, just go there to get what you need. Whereas in an open city such as this one, you know, you can have a cafe and meet, you know, locals or tourists or anybody for that matter, because it feels more open and it feels more social. And then you allow, you know, public performances such as this one, encourage creativity. And then of course, many of our cities now have powers that are deprived of you know, communicating with their neighbors because they are in a box. So whereas this one, you know, just a few steps away, you are in a cafe, and in some cases your building is just right across another building. You can say hi to your neighbor, and that makes life more interesting as compared to a city governed by cars, and you just go home to sleep and eat, and that's it. And of course, it will be interrupted by a road. But I think Nijhaven still continues on that side. And so I guess we've reached the terminus of Nijhaven. I can see the big river over there. And hopefully we're allowed to cross the other side. Because I'm seeing some modern housing complex on the other side of the river. So as you approach the big river, you can see that there are less commercial establishments, less cafe and less restaurants. This is a restaurant, but it's not really busy by the hotel. And there's a bike bridge over there, which is really impressive how they celebrate biking lifestyle here. So this is the end of Nyhaven. So let's see what we can experience at the very end of it. Oh, this is going to be a surprise because it is Playhouse. It's an architectural landmark in Copenhagen, and you can see why. That's the Danish Opera House, and that's the Playhouse. Old building, modern building, intertwining together. Beautiful, beautiful layer in the city. So unfortunately we cannot cross the other side. I wish we could have, but this is a really nice part of the city, and the Playhouse becomes a magnet for pedestrian traffic since it's an architectural landmark from the touristic area, because it will be a shame to just end with the water and not do anything here. So I guess that's it. We explored the heart of the walking experience of central Copenhagen on the river.